What's up guys, JC here. Today we're doing a first round 2023 mock draft. Make sure you smash that like button, maybe hit subscribe, and show a small creator some nice love. So with that being said, let's get into the disclaimers. These are my opinions. There's no bias in these picks. I'm doing what I think that the NFL teams will do, and for the player comps, every player is going to have a player comp. I went on ESPN, NFL Network, Draft Network, a couple other websites, and basically tried to, what I know, and tried to skew my opinion off that. So with that being said, let's get right to the first overall pick with the Carolina Panthers. They traded a hefty lonesome to get their quarterback of the future, and they will be selecting C.J. Stroud, quarterback, Ohio State. You know, he definitely throws the cleanest ball in the draft. He has great vision, above average throw power for sure. He's not that mobile, but he still is good at using his mobility to extend plays. Their new head coach, Frank Reich, loves a big quarterback, and that is exactly what C.J. Stroud is. Also, the Panthers were on the hot mic basically telling C.J. Stroud they were going to draft him #1 overall. So there's that. So on to NFL comparisons. My NFL comparison for C.J. Stroud is Ben Roethlisberger. Both wear #7. Both, big arms, not too mobile, but mobile enough to get it done. I just think that it's a really good comparison. And on to the next pick. The Houston Texans are on the clock, and I have the Texans selecting Bryce Young from Alabama. Bryce Young is an extremely efficient scrambler, as you can see. He's also an above-average passer. He's really good at using his mobility to extend plays, and he's probably the best quarterback in the class. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are you having the best quarterback of the class go #2 instead of #1? That's super weird. But, Frank Reich has a type when it comes to quarterbacks, to kind of bigger guys, and I just think that they're going to pass on him. Bryce Young is 5'10", but he doesn't play like it, I can tell you that for sure. So that's why I have the Bryce Young going 2. The Texans need a quarterback very bad. They had those issues with Deshaun Watson. They had him for a couple of years, but then he had those major issues. Before that, Brock Osweiler kinda, and then it was a couple other guys. Matt Schaub was kind of thrown in there. But I think that right now they have a super inexperienced coaching staff, so a mobile quarterback that can kind of turn something into nothing on those third downs with his legs. I think they could use that a lot. So that's why I have the Houston Texans selecting Bryce Young. Bryce Young was a hard player comp as well. He's definitely the hardest one that I've had. There's one other one in the class that I had a hard time with, but he is definitely the hardest player comp that I had because he's really unique and he plays a very different way. But if I had to describe his play by one guy, it'd be a pre-injury Eagles Carson Wentz. Using their legs to extend plays, good throw power, but not amazing. I just think that's a really good fit. So on to pick 3. For pick 3, we have a trade alert, the first of the class. I know I'm kind of covering up a little bit, but I'll read it out for you here. I have the Colts receiving pick 3, and the Cardinals trading up 1 spot. I know it's kind of boring, and I know that the Cardinals have talked to a lot of people about that #3 pick. I think that it's going to end up being the Colts, just ensuring that they can get their guy. The Cardinals get a couple picks. I don't have anything crazy, no first. And the Colts get to trade up to pick 3 and get their hopefully quarterback. And let's see who they take. Pick the Indianapolis Colts. They have them selecting Anthony Richardson, quarterback from University of Florida. Anthony Richardson definitely has the highest potential in this class by far. He's extremely high throw power, very athletic guy. Just struggles sometimes with reads and stuff, but when he's on, he's on. And look at this ball. Are you kidding me? Wow. And I think that, their new head coach works well with mobile quarterbacks. He's the former Eagles offensive coordinator, really helped Jalen Hurts in that system. He's also coming in with great O-line as well, with Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, all those guys. So I think it's going to be a really good fit for Indy. My NFL comp for Anthony Richardson was a pretty obvious one. Maybe not. Maybe he won't be this good, but I thought this was a pretty easy comp. Both from you. Went to University of Florida. One stayed, one left. It's Cam Newton. I mean, both big, strong players, throwers. Definitely struggled with reads early, but I think that they're both going to be very good. 4th overall pick, the Arizona Cardinals moved down one spot. Not a big deal. They still get their guy in Will Anderson. Will Anderson is regarded as one of the best players in the class. Extremely good edge rusher, extremely high production, amazing run stopper. He's huge. He's 6'3". Looks like he's all muscle, extremely strong. He's good with both power and finesse moves, which is really hard to find in DNs nowadays. I think that the Cardinals could really use a new DN because they just lost J.J. Watt. So they're really going to have a lack of pressure. They don't really have that many young guys on their team. So, and their new head coach, Shane Steichen, really uses pressure in different ways. And I think that Will Anderson can kind of fill that Hassan Reddick role, if you will. I know that I didn't have the best comparisons for the first couple picks, but this one I think is pretty lock solid, and it's Khalil Mack. I think they're so similar, their game, they can both use both power and finesse, and I think this would be a really good pick for the Cardinals. Seahawks pick at pick 5. I don't have them trading out. A lot of people think that they might. They have a pretty almost win-ready roster, but I have them taking Tyree Wilson. Tyree Wilson is a big, raw guy. He has a huge wingspan. He's 6'6", extremely athletic, extremely strong, amazing run stopper, above average. Look at those arms. He is an amazing power rusher. Definitely, probably the best edge rusher, run stopper in the class, if I had to say. And he's pretty versatile. Can run inside and outside, as you say right here. Pete Carroll likes to take these big guys and really form them into whatever he wants. Michael Bennett, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, etc. And the Seahawks need some edge rushers pretty bad. I mean, their best one is Chenna Nwosu right now, and he's good, but he's not amazing. And that's pretty much it. Now, this is a comparison that I made myself. I did watch a lot of Texas Tech games this year, and my NFL comparison to Tyree Wilson was Trey Hendrickson. I know he's not as athletic as Tyree, but if you added the athleticism that Tyree Wilson has to Trey Hendrickson's game, it's basically Tyree Wilson. With the 6th pick, I have the Detroit Lions staying. I know that they're a team that a lot of people think could trade out. I think that they stay, and I have them selecting Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, Oregon. Christian Gonzalez is probably the best corner in the draft. Amazing ball skills, above average tackler, very elusive in coverage. And I know that might be a weird thing to say, but he is very, very fast and mobile. The Lions desperately need corner, and they need good tacklers just like that, because they were the worst defense in the NFL last year, and it wasn't really close. Bringing in a guy like Christian Gonzalez, amazing in coverage, amazing in tackling, just a 10 out of 10 player. Current NFL comp for Christian Gonzalez is one that I love. I really think it's a good one. It's Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback for the Saints. I think that they're both amazing in coverage, can both hold up, and that they're both amazing tacklers. With the next pick, we have a trade. I have the Raiders taking the Washington pick 16, a 3rd round pick, a 1st round pick, and the Commanders trading up to pick 7, back 4, the quarterback of the future for them, Will Levis. So yes, I have the Washington Commanders taking Will Levis, extremely strong arm, good arm talent. Definitely the worst of the 4 quarterbacks taken to the 1st round, but that's not saying much. He's just a little bit more raw. He's a really good runner. Not great field awareness, but a very effortless thrower with very high throw power. The Commanders just got Eric Bieniemy as their new offensive coordinator, and I think that they'll use he's going to want a new quarterback to mold. So they brought in Will Levis to do. This was a hard one, trying to do mobile, not amazing reads. I would say that my perfect comp for this is Kenny Pickett with not as good throw power. so with more throw power than Kenny Pickett. So yeah, that's my NFL comp for Will Levis. Pick. The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock, and it's about time this guy gets off the board. I have the Atlanta Falcons selecting Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia. Jalen Carter is easily the best player in this draft class. You know, he is amazing up the middle, probably the best run stopper I've seen in college football, period. One of the best interior pass rushers the league has seen since probably Ndamukong Suh, maybe Quinn Williams being there. The only issue is he's got a lot of attitude issues. He refused to visit any teams in the top 10. Not in the top 10 in the NFL draft. And look at that run stopping ability. Yeah, so he refused to see any teams in the top 10. And he got into a pretty bad car accident, had some really bad legal issues. I don't know much about that, but I know that teams are not in love with that. And even though he's extremely talented, he's going to fall to about pick 8, pick 9, maybe even out of the top 10 in real life. And my NFL comp for him is, I said it earlier, he's, a beast. Probably, if you think of this guy in his prime, he's Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh in his prime was one of the most dominant nose tackles the league has ever seen. It was a short prime with a lot of injuries, but it was still a prime, and he was still amazing. Definitely unstoppable for Miami, Detroit, and Tampa towards the beginning of his career. And I think that Jalen Carter has that same kind of attitude. Super mean, super good up the middle, etc. With pick 9, the Chicago Bears are up, and they traded back, obviously, from pick 1 to pick 9. I bet they're really licking their chops, hoping to get Jalen Carter, but they end up with their left tackle of the future, Peter Skoronski. Peter Skoronski is clearly the best tackle in the draft. That's him going up against David Ojabo, second-round pick for the Ravens last year. Here's him going up against Aiden Hutchinson, defensive rookie of the year runner-up. He's the most NFL-ready tackle. Amazing form, just really polished form. Really good on run and pass, which is nice. Not as exactly a polar, but that's all right. And the Bears, they've brought in a lot of positions this year, but they, minus Nate Davis, really, they have not brought in that many O-linemen. So I think that bringing in a guy like Skoronski to be their franchise left tackle to protect Justin Fields is something that they could really use. You got a guy like Skoronski who's a really pass rusher, not much of a polar, but still amazing run blocker, amazing pass blocker. My perfect comp for him is Lane Johnson. And next we have a trade, biggest trade of the video by far. Eagles received Budda Baker. The Cardinals received the 10th overall pick and a 2024 pick. Budda Baker requested a trade, move him on draft day. Same exact deal with the Eagles that they did for A.J. Brown, except for they lost both safeties. Cardinals get some more young players, another first-round pick on their team. Eagles get Budda Baker, who gets to immediately play on a championship-caliber team. So what's nice about the Cardinals is they already have their franchise quarterback. They have a good head coach, Jonathan Gannon, and now in this simulation they have a great edge rusher in Will Anderson. So now it's time to protect your quarterback, and in that we'll be selecting Paris Johnson, tackle, Ohio State. Paris Johnson is definitely the most athletic and raw, kind of like Tyree Wilson. Super athletic, super raw. Really good length, not a lot of time starting, only started for a year and a half at Ohio State, but amazing in run and pass blocking, and he can get in good system that can kind of put him together. And plus with the Cardinals, they can be patient with him. He's not going to be amazing out of the gate, but that's okay with Jonathan Gannon because they're not going to have Kyler right away. So kind of let him get all the kinks out of his game early, and now he can go and flourish in Arizona. When you think of NFL super athletic, great run blocking tackles, you really only think of one guy, and this is going to be that player comp, and that's going to be La'el Collins. Both amazing run blockers. They can definitely pull, get him on the edge, let him run out in space, make some blocks, all that good stuff. With the 11th pick, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Broderick Jones, tackle from University of Georgia. So Broderick Jones, obviously two-time national championship, pretty good length. Again, just like the last guy, not a lot of starting time. Uh, just average at both run and pass. The Titans desperately need a left tackle since they released left tackle Taylor Lewan, especially with how much they depend on the running game in their scheme. So I think that he could be a really good fit. As my player comp, it was hard, but I went on 5 different websites for this one, and 3 of them had the same person as Andrew Thomas for the tackle for the New York Giants. Definitely had a breakout year this year. Definitely a lower ceiling, but I think they could still be just as good. With the 12th pick, the Houston Texans. I have the Houston Texans selecting Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher from Iowa. Lucas Van Ness is an extremely powerful rusher. Big, long guy, very power rusher, very above average versus the run too. And the Texans desperately need help on the defensive line. Definitely a plug-and-play guy. I mean, I think their best starter is Jerry Hughes right now, if they even kept him throughout the year. I'm not sure of his contract status, but even if he was there, they still desperately need him. And he can work inside, he can work outside, and be very versatile with that D'Amico Ryan's team. NFL comp, I thought this was a pretty good one. Can work inside, can work outside, pretty strong, big guy. My NFL comp was Cam Jordan of the New Orleans Saints. With my next pick, we are going to have a trade alert. The Vikings are going to be moving up 10 spots, giving the Jets some draft compensation. They're going to lose some draft compensation in the Aaron Rodgers trade, so why not get that right back? Move back, let the Vikings get their guy, you get your guy. Sounds like a good deal. With the 13th pick, I have the Minnesota Vikings trading up to select the best receiver in the class, Jackson Smith-NJIBA. Jackson Smith-NJIBA is easily the best receiver in the class, has amazing hands, a really good route runner. You saw at the Combine, one of the smoothest route runners you've ever seen. Does have speed issues and injury concerns, which is why, guys don't regard him. I think if he didn't have those, he would be regarded as a top 5 pick. But because of that, it's all right. And I have him going to Minnesota. I think he'd be a wonderful wide receiver, too, to Justin Jefferson. Especially because they just lost Adam Thielen, and they're going to have to pay Justin Jefferson a lot of money next year. So why not bring in the best receiver in the class, Jackson Smith-NJIBA? As a good player comp for Jackson Smith-NJIBA, I think that his ceiling definitely shows flashes of Keenan Allen. Maybe not as fast, but still, big, amazing route runner, good hands, all the above. With the 14th pick, I have the New England Patriots selecting Devon Witherspoon, cornerback, Illinois. Devon Witherspoon's really, really good. He has great vision. He's a big guy. He's amazing one-on-one. Really good pass deflector. Not so much as an interceptor, but I'm sure he can get there. Working that Bill Belichick defense, and as you could see, just really good at man coverage, one-on-one, cover the slant, cover the outs, all the above. And the Patriots definitely need depth because they lost. They have the Joneses, all those Joneses, and that's not all those Joneses in their cornerback field. They have a lot of guys just with the last name Jones, and they haven't really had good depth since they lost J.C. Jackson and Stephon Gilmore. So I thought bring in another corner. Even though they do, I would not be surprised if they selected a tackle either. I have them selecting Devon Witherspoon. And Devon Witherspoon, I could see him developing into a guy that kind of looks like Rasul Douglas. His breakout season with the Packers went from practice squad to second team All-Pro. I could definitely see them two being very similar. With the next pick, we have a trade alert. I have the Steelers hopping the Raiders with the Packers, just moving up 2 spots, nothing crazy, a little bit of compensation, but nothing much. And the Steelers will move up and select Darnell Wright, tackle, Tennessee. Darnell Wright is an amazing run blocker and an average pass blocker, but an amazing run blocker. He kind of let the guy get off the edge there, but it is University of Florida, He holds his own in pass protection, but is a dominant run blocker for sure. If you catch a double team with Darnell Wright, you lose straight up. I don't care who you are. And the Steelers need to protect their last 2 first-round picks. They brought in a running back who needs run blockers, and they got a quarterback who needs pass blockers. So why not beat 2 birds with 1 stone and bring in Darnell Wright? I'm not a Seahawks fan, and I don't really watch O-line a lot, but a lot of the NFL websites had him compared to DJ Fluker, and I agreed. Just big bodies that are really good at running and can really, hold their own in pass protection. With the last first-round caliber tackle coming off the board, I have the Las Vegas Raiders then selecting Brian Brees, nose tackle from Clemson. Brian Brees is an amazing run stopper. They have those 2 amazing edge rushers, so teams are trying to run up the middle on the Raiders. Not anymore, not with Brian Brees in the middle of that D-line. He's above average pass rusher, but really you bring him in to stop the run. Look at that. You are not getting by him. The Raiders really need a big body in the middle of their D-line. And I promise I'm not a Packers fan. I'm a diehard Bills fan. And there's going to be a lot of Packers comparisons coming up. But I thought a perfect one for Brian Brees was Kenny Clark, Pro Bowl D-tackle from Green Bay. With the 17th pick, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Nolan Smith, edge rusher linebacker from Georgia. Nolan Smith might be the most athletic player in the class. He, beat a lot of teams by literally just straight speed, power, finesse, amazing awareness on the field. Not the biggest guy, but, you can kind of get over that. The Packers will get another Georgia Bulldog on that defense, still wearing the G on the side of their helmet, not for Georgia, but for Green Bay. They tend to take the most athletic player on the board, the Packers, for the past couple drafts at their respective positions with Devon Wyatt, Eric Stokes, Jair Alexander, Quay Walker. So I just have them taking another athletic Georgia defender, I know, in Nolan Smith. The NFL comp, I think this one's pretty easy with the size, the speed. I compared him to Montez Sweat. Just kind of a no-brainer on that one. Maybe like a Bud Dupree too. With pick 18, I have the Detroit Lions selecting another defender, Myles Murphy from the University of Clemson. Myles Murphy is an amazing power rusher. He is athletic, he is big, he's an amazing run stopper, power rusher. You can work him inside, you can work him outside. Really great. And as I mentioned earlier, the Lions had the last place defense, so them doubling down on defenders in the first round really I don't think would surprise anyone. And he can really stop the run, which the Lions really struggle with. And he could rush the passer. Kind of a win-win. And as a Myles Murphy comparison, I think this one's also pretty obvious. Pretty good one, too. I compared him to Brandon Graham of the Philadelphia Eagles. Both big bodies, really good at getting pressure, all the above. I think that he's going to be a great player. Not the most refined, but a great player nonetheless. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock, and I think that this is such an obvious position that they're going to take. I think that they are going to take an offensive tackle, and that is going to be Dawand Jones from Ohio State, the second Ohio State tackle off the board. This is the biggest boy in this draft. He is 6'8", amazing pass blocker. You get him out on the edge, you get the hell out the way. He does have injury issues, which is why I have him falling. But for the time being, without Donovan Smith, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers desperately need a nose tackle, a left tackle. So I have them selecting Dawand Jones. The player comp, I think that this one's pretty obvious. I know it's kind of boring with the O-lineman. There's not a lot coming up, I promise you that. But for a player comp, I have them selecting Trent Brown. I have a Trent Brown player comp. I think that they're extremely similar. Both built-in labs, big guys with injury issues. If Dawand Jones can stay healthy, he can be regarded as one of the top tackles in this year's draft. With the 20th pick, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. He's 6'2", 4'3" speed, amazingly long wingspan. His arms, literally, they look like they hang by his ankles as he runs down the field. Look how long those arms are. With that being said, very good in man coverage, amazing tackler, good ball skills, does definitely need some developing in coverage. However, that's Pete Carroll's specialty, is taking kind of rawer guys and really developing them into poised players. Look at that. Oh my God, look how high up his arms are. He is ridiculous. Amazing vertical, amazing speed, great player. A player comp. I promise this is the last Packer. I have his player comp at Eric Stokes, maybe with a lot longer arms. Pick 21, the Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock, and a lot of people suspect the Chargers might move back, but I don't have them doing that. I have the Chargers selecting Quentin Johnston, wide receiver, TCU. As the second receiver off the board, he is definitely the second. I would have firmly at number 1 and number 2 Johnston and Jackson Smith-NJIBA. Really tall, really fast, amazing route runner, good hands, good deep threat, definitely good in open space. And the Chargers could really use a receiver, man. They got to pay Justin Herbert. They got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen on big contracts, and they are always injured. So bringing a guy who can play the position right away, great deep threat, and if you have any injuries, you don't have to worry about throwing to Jalen Carter or another bad receiver. You get a guy like Quentin Johnston. And as my player comp for Quentin Johnston, I think this one's a pretty good one, is DJ Chark from the Lions. Big, good hands, really good deep threat, good at getting separation. Not an every down receiver, but very, very good for the system he could be in. Pick 22, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Khalil Ringo, cornerback, Georgia. Khalil Ringo is definitely one of the better corners in college football. The reason I have him falling is because of injury concerns. Other than that, he's probably one of the top corners in football. He is really fast, good in man and zone coverage. Look at that play on the ball. Very clutch. Made that huge interception to secure Georgia's first national championship. You could definitely put him on an island if they have issues. The Ravens, they have a lot of issues covering the pass last year. Marlon Humphreys ended up cutting Marcus Peters. Khalil Ringo can plug him in and play him right away to sit aside Humphrey in that defense. As a player comp, I know that this is a high player comp for a guy getting selected 22nd overall, but the only reason he's getting selected 22nd overall is because of injury concerns. But I have him comp to Aqib Talib, the corner from the All-Pro corner from the Denver Broncos. With the 23rd pick, I have the New York Jets selecting Brian Branch, nickel from Alabama. Brian Branch is extremely athletic, runs the nickel really well. The only reason I got him going this late is because, guys that exclusively run nickel are kind of, he's kind of just a defensive back, really. He can run safety, he can run nickel. He is extremely athletic, probably the best guy in zone coverage in this year's draft. Great ball skills. I really only have him falling because of team needs up to this point, and the Jets only really have one good DB right now. Bringing in another guy, like kind of a safety nickel type, that can really be another playmaker alongside Sauce could be an extremely dangerous combo. And I know I said this before, but I think that the most obvious player comp in this year's draft is this one, and as Brian Branch with Minkah Fitzpatrick, the other Alabama safety, they're basically identical. The next pick, I have a trade. I have the Jaguars trading back the last pick in the first round, still getting those 5th round rights on a receiver, getting a couple picks later, day 3 picks, and moving up with the Kansas City Chiefs moving up. And I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting wide receiver Jordan Addison from USC. Jordan Addison's a good receiver. He definitely is what the Chiefs are looking for, and I think the Chiefs we're looking at all the receivers come off the board. They got a lot of teams that might take a receiver coming up, let's hop over all of them, not lose that much, and still get a great receiver in Jordan Addison. He's really fast, an amazing route runner, probably the best route runner in this year's draft. Especially they need a new offense and a new receiver, and they're definitely looking for that type because he's exactly like Kadarius Toney, exactly like Sky Moore, and it just kind of seems like the shorter, fast route runner, really good route runner type is what the Chiefs are looking for nowadays. And I have them taking one of those guys in the first round in Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison is, I think, definitely compared to this player, and I think it would be DJ Moore. They both kind of have hands issues a little bit, but really fast, really good route runners, really good in open space. Just, I think it's a really good comparison. With the 25th pick, I have the New York Giants taking B.J. Ojulari, defensive end linebacker, edge rusher from LSU. B.J. Ojulari is definitely a fast edge rusher, definitely not the best, but really can dip and flatten the edge versus tackles, definitely the best edge available at this point, and I think the Giants are really focused on bringing in good edge rushers to put alongside Kayvon Thibodeau. And you got the elite Ojulari brothers now, and that could be good for the culture, and you could definitely rotate guys more and definitely have some more guys on their feet instead of playing Aziz and Kayvon every single play. Now I have a couple different comps for B.J. Ojulari. First one is his brother. They're very similar. Their play styles. You get B.J., you're basically getting Aziz, just in a different person. But I think his real NFL comp, and for both of them, is Harold Landry, the D-end linebacker from the Tennessee Titans. Now here comes my first real controversial pick. With the 26th pick, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Cam Smith from the University of South Carolina. Now hear me out. I know he's not the best on the board, best player on the board definitely. Maybe not even the best corner on the board, but I think he'd fit the Cowboys system well. He's always healthy, big athletic guy, really good tackler, which they really need at corner. They definitely struggled with corner depth late last year, which is I think why they kind of fell in the draft in the Niners game. And he plays with really good anticipation and really good ball skills. He can play the nickel and he can play cornerback too, and maybe throw digs to that nickel. Look at that. Bang. Really good ball skills. Really good hands, which is I know what Jerry Jones likes. And it's not bad to be deep at corner. Being deep at corner is a skill definitely. And the Cowboys have a lot of injury history at that position. And I think a good player comp for him would definitely be A.J. Boye. Kind of can run that nickel, run the outside too if he wants to. Pretty good hands, good in coverage, all the above. Not a liability, kind of a plug-and-play guy. With the 27th pick, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting Anton Harrison, tackle from Oklahoma. Harrison is probably the most average tackle in this year's draft, average run blocker, average pass blocker, but he's a bigger guy, definitely more athletic than the average tackle. Bill's got really no right tackle right now. Spencer Brown's kind of starting to show up more of a swing tackle, and the Bills' O-line is kind of soft. You got guys like Josh Allen and James Cook and Damian Harris that they really want to protect, so why not bring in a guy like Anton Harrison who can really, broaden their spectrum and make their offense more versatile. And funny enough, as the comparison, I have him compared to Deion Dawkins. They both have very similar, and I think that if he were to be a Buffalo Bill, that he would just be Deion Dawkins just on the right side. With the 28th pick, I have the Cincinnati Bengals taking Kalaje Chansey, nose tackle from Pitt. To be completely honest, the Bengals do not have a lot of team needs. They're a very good roster, very prepared, good D-backs, good linebackers, good D-line, good O-line, good receivers, good quarterback. good at everything. But I think if there was a position where they could use help, it would be at rushing the passer. You know, they spent might say, oh, why don't they bring in a lineman? They spent a lot of money on the line in the past 2 years between Orlando Brown, a high pick on Joan Williams. They got Lael Collins, Alex Kappa, you know, all these guys. So why not bring in a really good run stopper in Khalil Chansey? And he is a big, powerful man. Great run stopper, like I said. Also, really good pass rusher. Just a big man that you can stick right in the D-line. And plus, if DJ Reader gets hurt, they really don't have a lot of other options at nose tackles. Now you can bring in a guy, you can plug him right in if you want to, and play him to be their starter for at least 4 years, or maybe 5. And you know, a good comparison for this guy is really Gerald McCoy. Maybe not as big, like body-wise, but just as athletic, just as good at stopping the run and rushing the passer. A trade alert. I have the Saints moving back into getting more picks in the second round, and the Packers trading up back into the first round. And Packers fans, brace yourselves, because you are finally, with pick 29, getting a wide receiver from the University of North Carolina, Josh Downs. If this happens, rejoice, Packers fans. You finally got a receiver in the first round. North Carolina, really shifty, really good route runner. Above average hands, definitely for his size. He's only 5'10", but does not play at 5'10". Look at those hands. I know, finally. And another weapon for Jordan Love. It seems to be that you guys are going to be moving with Jordan Love going forward. So now you get a guy in Josh Downs that can really, you know, set the tone and be a nice slot guy, maybe even outside guy for Christian Watson to pair with. Nice NFL comp that I have to Josh Downs is the new Super Bowl champion, Kadarius Toney. They play very similar. Josh Downs might play a little bit more physical than Toney, but they're both fast, both shifty, good in the open field, and both have amazing hands. At pick 30, I have the Eagles taking one of the best players in the draft class in Bijan Robinson, running back from the University of Texas. Bijan Robinson is definitely a top 5 player in the draft class. He just, you know, running backs are a dime a dozen these days, but he is a very talented running back. He is big, he is fast, he has great vision, can really break tackles, he's power, elusive, everything you want in a starting running back. And with the Eagles, they lost Miles Sanders. You can plug him in, play him right away, and he will be great in that O-line. And in fantasy, if the Eagles get him, watch out, let me tell you, because he is going to be a fantasy threat, barring he stays healthy. And as a player comp, I have him compared to the former Offensive Player of the Year and fantasy champion, Todd Gurley. And with the last pick, because the Dolphins were tampering, there's only 31 picks in the draft this year. So with the 31st pick, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting a guard, O'Cyrus Torrence. Like I said about Antoine Harrison, he's the most average guard. He's an above average run blocker, but an average pass blocker. Really big guy, just solid. Going to do his job, nothing more, nothing less, nothing fancy, you know. And you get a guy that can protect Trevor Lawrence, which is pretty cool. So, you know, you finally got your guy, Trevor Lawrence. He's really starting to show out, especially late in the season. So you get a guy to protect him, so he has a little bit more time. And as my final NFL player comp, I have O'Cyrus Torrence with Roger Saffold, Bills, Titans, and Rams guard. You know, just solid pass blocker, above average run blocker. Nothing crazy, not going to wow you, just doing that. If you've watched to this point, maybe thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and maybe follow my Twitter for more updates and more takes like this one. Thank you.